Greetings, everybody. While the Atomic Eyes video is still in progress, yes, I realize that it's taking forever. It takes even more forever from my end, believe me. Today I find that I need to make a few batches of lip balm, so I figured I'd show you how it's done. Right now I'm going to be making some Sublime Ravings lip balm, one of the standard scents that I'm sure you all know. And it's not difficult to make. It doesn't really take that long either. I only make them when I have to, though. I don't know why, I just find the process to be kind of a pain in the ass. Alright, so starting things off, tearing out, I use this same bowl all the time for any kind of scrubs, or this is the only bowl I use for that, because it's exactly the right size. I'm going to put in a couple of tablespoons of shea butter, and basically that means an ounce. Each tablespoon of shea butter is a half an ounce, so in order to get a full ounce, it's 2 tablespoons. You mostly want to, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but you want to get it pretty close. This is not bad. I developed these recipes through basically trial and error, proportion-wise. They don't make big batches, because I don't really need big batches. This will make anywhere from a dozen to 15, it depends on what flavor it is. The next thing I'm going to put in is 1 1/4 tablespoons of beeswax pastilles. And the beeswax gives stiffness and stability to the product. Otherwise it would just be shea butter and it would just be kind of a creamy, oily sort of thing that didn't hold its shape. Okay. Now, the enemy of all things lip balm related is water. So you have to remember that anything that you put into a lip balm mix cannot contain any water. It all has to be oil based. Alright, so we're going to use a half a teaspoon of vitamin E. I'm going to use some ginger oil. This is about the last of my ginger oil too. This oil is made by me. It's a mixture of safflower oil and fresh ginger steeped in a slow cooker for about 6 hours. This is just about the last of it. I'm going to have just barely enough to make this. And then you just keep it around or put it in the fridge or the freezer to keep it fresh. But that's all it is. You can see it sort of has like a medium gold color from the ginger. And if you smell it, it definitely has like a sweet ginger scent. But that's not enough. I'm going to have to make more of that. I'm already making some black tea oil at the moment. I'm also going to need regular ginger, because this will provide that sort of mild ginger flavor, but people really like the spiciness of Sublime Ravings, and that comes from fresh ginger, fresh powdered ginger from Penzeys. This is their China powdered #1. It's the only one I use because Penzeys is the only spice company I buy from. And then finally, we need lime. This is pure lime oil, 100% lime oil, and going to be mixing in a bit of this as well, and just a little bit more, not quite that much. Okay, Sublime Ravings takes no colorant. There is no additional coloring involved in this particular lip balm. I don't add anything to it at all. Some of them do have a color, but this one does not. So that's all of the ingredients. We're going to put it right on the stove here. Well, no, I'm not going to touch the camera at all. I'm afraid it's going to tip over. It's really precariously perched. And just so you're aware, what I have waiting is a filler tray that is full of lip balm tubes. This one will hold 50. I have never made 50 at once in my life. I usually make no more than what you're seeing here, so I kind of spread them out. But if you were making 50, it's really convenient because it comes with a little spatula, and you put all 50 of them, and then you just pour it into the tray and let it fall where it will, and you use the spatula to shove it around and fall into all the holes. I have to be a little more careful because I'm only making like about a dozen. So we have this in a double boiler. You've all used a double boiler before, I'm sure, or something. And so just give it a stir every once in a while. And eventually it will all melt down. And the wax is going to be the last thing to melt, and it'll melt right around the time when the water underneath it boils. It's approximately the same point. But until then, we're going to wait for this shea butter to melt down and whatever. And it smells wonderful. I mean, it really smells terrific. So I'm going to just give it a stir every now and then to help aid in the melting. But that's pretty much all it's going to do. So I'm going to mostly edit out the bit in the middle here where you're just watching things melt, because I cannot imagine a reality in which that's interesting. So maybe I'll just speed it up. Maybe that'll be a fun thing, do like a 2x speed. We'll see. But we're going to come back right after all of this is melted for the pouring part. Okay, welcome back, and I'm going to turn off the heat under this. It's now just an ordinary liquid. I've got my handy dandy pot holder, and I'm now going to wipe the bottom of this so it doesn't get water in anything, and then just very carefully pour by hand right into the holes, right to the top. Now, this is going to make more than the tube is going to fit, because the tube doesn't actually go all the way to the top. So this process takes a couple of steps. Once these are all filled to the top, I can then see if I need more or less tubes, and I'm going to be cutting off the tops of the ones that are full, cutting off the buttons on the top, and putting them back in the pot in order to not waste any of it, and then just use the leftover to fill up whatever is missing or add a tube or two. It usually makes just as much as I put in, but sometimes I'm off by a tube or so. Okay. And the last tube, I always have to remember where it is, because the last tube is the hot tube. It's got all of the powdered ginger that didn't suspend, and it tends to have a hotter flavor than the others, and I usually save that for whoever requests it. So that last tube is only full about 2/3 of the way, but that's okay, nothing to worry about, because what's going to happen is that as soon as these cool down, I'm going to be able to pull them out and cut off the tops, and between all of the tops put together, there'll be plenty to fill up that last tube, and it'll be exactly the amount that we needed. So I'm going to let this cool for about 10 or 15 minutes, and you'll see that as they cool, they're going to develop a sort of a funnel on the top because of the stick that's in the middle that it's used to rotate them up. That's okay, and it's normal. You cover it up while you're cutting off the tops, so that's not going to matter very much. But over time, they will start to develop a divot around that center stick. But it's really okay. So I'm going to be back in a few minutes after these cool, and we'll move on from there. Okay, everyone, it's about 10 minutes later, and as you can see, there are now these sort of divots in the center, and that happens because of the stick that is in the middle of each one. So the way that you deal with these is you take them out one at a time, and you can see here that there's plenty of space at the top that did not get into the tube, and that's because the container is higher than the tube itself. So we're going to take the excess and put it back in the pot, and the way that you just seal that hole up is just with a knife and a little swipe, just like that, and that's it. Over here I have an entire bag of caps that go with these. You just pop the cap on, and that's it. I'll put them behind me because if not, inevitably they will fall all over the stove and they will roll under the stove and it becomes a disaster. Ask me how I know. Sometimes, though, they don't want to come out right away. They want to stick in the tube, in the container, the holder, which seems to be happening with a lot of them at the moment, which means they're not quite cool enough. That's what happens. They break. It's okay. You can save it. It's not a big deal. But what I am going to do is put these in the freezer for just a minute and then come back out and try it again because they're just a little bit too soft to pull out. They don't want to twist. This one will. You see that some of them are just not wanting to do it. So I'm going to see which ones come out. This one doesn't want to. This one will. Yeah, that wobbling thing, that happens all the time. That one broke. That one broke. That one broke right at the top though. You know what? I'm just gonna get them out, and I'll wipe them. I'll fill them up from the top. Not a big deal. This is the one that's not yet full. Okay, so I'm going to just take out the bits that are in here. Just scrape them out. Put them right back into the pot. Just using an ordinary paring knife. Because they're lip balms, and you can use any knife or whatever that you use for food or whatever, and this is my sharp paring knife. Oh, this one still has a tube attached. That one broke. See what I mean about them falling over? This happens every time. Every time. Without fail. I can never keep them all upright. Okay. And this last one, just like that. Okay. So, I'm going to heat this up. It only takes a minute or two to just heat up the extra bits. And while that's heating, I'm going to cut the tops off the rest of them real fast. And I said just wipe off the top. What I usually do is just wipe them down with a paper towel to make sure that it's clean, but other than that, there's nothing too precise about it. Okay, those are all wiped off. So really we have these that need to be filled to the top. This one probably doesn't. This one's probably okay the way it is. Yeah, just needed to be swiped across the top. These all need a little bit extra. No big deal. Easily done. Stir it up. Just make sure it's all liquid. You want to get as much of that powdered ginger into the emulsion as you can. And then, once it's hot again, just take it back. The first thing I want to do is fill up that one tube that didn't have enough. And now that's full. Just going to add a little bit to the top on all of these others, just so you get a nice button, and then you know that they're full to the top. Sometimes they spill down the sides, just like that. But it's okay. You can fix it. No big deal. Okay. So these are all now full, and I have this tiny bit extra that's left. And usually what I do with those tiny bits extra is I pour it into a container, like a sample size one, which I should have. I have these little teeny ones, and I usually just use them for myself, if I'm honest. I don't usually do much with them, but it's going to make just enough to make one for me. So once these are all cooled down, all I have to do is scrape the tops off and make sure that they're flat, wipe them down with a paper towel, add the caps, and then they are ready for labeling. So that's the entire process, really. You just have to wait for them to cool. I hope you enjoyed it, and you know, if you have any questions, let me know. If there's anything in particular you want to see me make, please let me know what it is, because I'm just kind of filming things as I'm making them, and I have no idea what you guys want. So you can tell me. Okay, Bronx out.